Well, hello, everybody, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Monday night, baby. Y'all know what that means. Yeah, yeah. I love that guy. One day I'm going to meet him. I love him. We call him CJ because he sounds just like our CJ. Live chat is already getting fired up tonight, y'all. People's coming in from all over the world. I mean, that just still blows my mind to even say that. I look up and I see people from all over the world, all over the country. I mean, people in every time zone of our country and then other time zones in other countries. People setting their clocks to come on to the Big Picture Live. Well, we're going to do things a little bit different tonight. We're going to get into the news a little bit quicker and faster because I'm going to explain it tonight. I won't explain it later, but some of you may have experienced this. I'm trying to make it to where when people watch the replay, they get right to the news. We cut out a lot of the upfront, the countdown and things like that at the beginning. Well, YouTube's been giving us some problems on that, and it's causing the audio and all that to sync up, taking a couple of days to fix. So we're just not going to worry about that anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to get straight into the news. So are y'all ready? Are y'all ready to get into some things tonight? Here we go. Here we go. Tonight on The Big Picture, we're going to cover some things that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Some of the things you've heard in the news, but you've not heard them from the angle that you're going to hear them tonight. 4th of July weekend, travelers are experiencing chaos like never before in the airports. France is on fire, and they're getting ready to shut the internet down. I'm telling you, the Ukraine and war, Russia-Ukraine war is going to another level. And we got so much stuff tonight to talk about AI and other things that are shocking that are going on in our world. Tonight, I'm going to be joined by my co-host, the lovely Sandy Ragland, in just a moment. And we're going to get straight into the news right after this. There she is, sipping on her Roll Tide, Alabama.
Gotta have it.
Woo, come on, got you muted over there while he's coming in.
Got to have it. So glad to be back. Day before a major holiday.
Yes.
Brand new baby in the family.
Come on, talk real quick. Can you tell them about our sweet little baby that
Oh
we
my
just
goodness, she's so adorable. Thank you all for prayers. Everything went so smooth.
Yes.
And she was here last Tuesday,
got?
12:30.
Yep, 12:30. And
Beautiful baby.
she is so precious. And
Love her.
of course, that's our second grandbaby. Many of you congratulated us on it. I made a post about it here.
Yep.
And you saw that. But she is absolutely adorable.
Yes.
And we can't wait to spend time with her tomorrow. Hope everybody has a wonderful 4th of July.
Yes, we do.
But I do hope that in your 4th of July plans, you're not planning on getting involved in some of this because
It's a flight mare out there, right?
flight mare, I like that.
It is a flight mare
It is a flight.
to be for sure.
Wow. Oh, there's old Buttigieg. Is that how you say his name, Buttigieg? I always get scared trying to read his name.
I think it's Buttigieg, but
Buttigieg?
it's a very strange name, and
Buttigieg.
I hear it. I think it's.
I don't even want to say what I'm
that's the
thinking right
correct
now.
pronunciation, but you hear all kinds of pronunciations.
Yeah,
of
okay,
his
that's all I'm
name,
going to say. There's so many places I could go there, but I'm not going to go there. Airport chaos. Travelers face canceled flights. That's the one thing you don't want to hear for 4th of July holiday. So you can see already it's backing up.
So many happy faces out there, right?
So many happy faces. Storms across the country have canceled 89 flights the day before the 4th of July holiday. At least 15 states are facing severe weather conditions ahead of Independence Day. Hail, wind, possible tornado damage have wreaked havoc on the East Coast, Mississippi River regions, according to hundreds of reports. More than 900 flights.
Look at that.
That's unreal. Within or entering the United States were canceled over the weekend.
2 days.
In 2 days, between Saturday and Sunday, a total of 905 flights in and out of the United States were canceled. And
If you want to be specific, it's probably less than 48 hours, but, Saturday to Sunday. And can you imagine over 15,000 flights being delayed?
Wow.
900 canceled? Over 900 canceled.
Wow. Thousands of passengers stranded.
I don't like the airport anyway on a good day.
No, you don't.
But can you imagine that?
No, I can't imagine that.
No.
I cannot imagine on 4th of July weekend. You've worked your tail off all year long.
Plan.
Getting ready for your vacation.
Everybody's excited.
You're going to the beach. You're going to relax. What's going on? They're saying my internet's messing up already.
Yeah, I see that.
So I don't know if you're seeing any kind of buffering out there. If you are, just stay with us. We double-checked this before we ever started. The devil's already trying to work, but the devil is a liar. And we're going to tell you in just a minute why the devil's trying to stop this tonight. But look, we're just hoping that you have a safe 4th of July weekend.
Yes, and that you don't end up like these people.
And that you don't have to go through the kind of stuff that they're going through. But that's the 4th of July weekend.
Right.
And we wanted to lead with that because, a lot of you traveling, a lot of you are going to be watching this on replay.
We hope you're not sitting for a delayed flight at the airport watching this right now.
Yeah, but if you are, look what you got.
What better way to spend your time?
To do the Big Picture Live with Larry and Sandy. Well, while this is going on here on the other side of the world,
oh my goodness,
France is burning, Sandy. It is unreal what is happening there.
These folks have been upset for a while now. When did the Yellow Vest protests start? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
They're mad about one thing or another, and I'm sure they have a right to be, but they are really mad this weekend.
Well, I don't know how much you followed this story, but that's not even really what this one is about.
This is different, but these folks have been upset about one thing or another for a while, but they are really angry this time.
Yeah, they call them the Yellow Vest because, you'll see them out there with the reflector-looking yellow vest and all this, but it's more than that.
Yes.
And 1,000 buildings are burnt. This was, as of this morning, 5,600 vehicles destroyed. Multiple full-size buses I saw were burned to nothing. 3,300 arrests in the first week of France's riots. The huge extent of damage and vandalism caused in nearly a week of nightly riots in France have been dramatically underlined with a summary of recorded burnings so far, with the toll running to thousands of vehicles and buildings. Now, this all started from, you look at those buses. Wow.
Yes.
This all started from, some of you have seen the video. I've seen the video where the young boy was in the car. I don't remember if he was 16, 17, something like that. And we don't know all the details that happened for the arrest or whatever, the potential arrest. But, the vehicle speeds off. And as the vehicle speeds off, it is really horrific to see, not a pistol, but a rifle, some type of long weapon is, shot at the boy and killed the boy. Yeah. And of course the vehicle crashes, and this is the reason that why they're saying all this happens. Now we will say this, and I will say this from the bottom of my heart. We always try to be compassionate here.
Yes.
A life is a life. Okay, so somebody's mama lost their boy. Okay, we understand that. But as Sandy said, the Yellow Vest, the well-funded, the well-planned professional rioters are always waiting on something to create chaos. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it, Sandy, the thing that you're not going to hear on the regular media.
We need to get it out here.
That we're going to say on the Big Picture is when this thing first broke, the first day, everybody's covering it. Well, the second day, they stopped covering it as much, and it's almost disappeared because when they zoomed in on the crowd, let's be real, like we always preface, this is not against a particular group of people, but almost every person, not every person, but almost every person in that crowd that was burning things to the ground were not native French. They were immigrants from Muslim countries. This was a Muslim boy that was killed, and this is for predominantly, if not super predominantly, the people that are in the streets are Muslims, and they're chanting things about Allah, all these kind of things. This is a direct result of the open borders and people coming in and not assimilating to the culture. And that's what we're seeing here. And that's not what you're going to hear in other places.
No. They're going to not let a process go to waste until the next thing comes along that they need to promote more. And I don't know. The media uses things, twists things, deletes things when it's to their benefit.
Right. And
like you said, so much immigration has taken place, and these people have not probably completely assimilated well. There's tensions, things are going on. It's just a mess. It should have been done better and maybe we wouldn't have some of these problems we have now. Immigration is always going to be a reality, but when it's too much at one time, problems can happen.
Well, one of the things that Paul Begley and I discussed in our Kingdom Intelligence Report, that if you're watching this live, is going to premiere tomorrow, Tuesday, 4th of July, at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. You need to watch this because we really, really break this entire thing about France down. That's why it's called The World is on Fire. And we talk about that it's not just this country, it's every country around the world that has been dealing with open borders. And a lot of times, and that's why we have this show, The Big Picture, is to tell you the big picture is that many people, not all these people that are in the streets fit this bill, but many people are on no-fly lists. They're terrorist lists. They cannot fly. They cannot go. But like in our country, they don't have to get on a plane. They just, to America, they need to get on a plane or something to our lower, right below us in Mexico, and they can walk straight across the border. And there's no kind of checks. There's no kind of balances whatsoever. And I think a lot of these countries are seeing, people's eyes are beginning to open up when you have open borders and there's no kind of trying to tell people, look, you don't have to abandon your culture, but you need to understand the laws of the land. And I think that's what we're seeing.
Right. So obviously I haven't seen this show that you guys did yet, but I would ask one question before we move on.
Okay.
Did you guys talk about how, I want to step lightly here, how it affects the nationalism of any certain country when immigration can begin to flood and happens so fast, and assimilation does not happen correctly?
We did not go that route. We did not go that route. And
so we all need to check out the show that will be airing tomorrow and
1 p.m. And we deal with many other topics, but the title of the show is "The World is on Fire" because it literally is. I mean, the world is full of chaos.
It is.
And one other thing about France, before we go any further, this is the natural progression that is happening in countries that want to control the people. France has begun to tell that they're going to start shutting down the internet in certain neighborhoods, notice certain in quotation, to prevent use of social media to organize violence.
Wow.
The Minister of Interior in France announced on Sunday the country will restrict internet access in certain neighborhoods as the violence continues across the country. According to the Ministry of the Interior, the restrictions are meant to prevent the use of social media and other platforms to organize violent activities. France is planning a shutdown of the nation's internet in an attempt to stop the world from seeing what, this is commentary from this particular site, invaders are doing to the nation. In just the span of a few days, France has developed into, we see on the streets, this is not my opinion, I'm just reading this article, Middle Eastern nation engulfed in war, and it's despite limiting news from reaching the outside world. And but basically what we're saying here is,
of course, there's not going to be any negative backlash from that.
No.
That's going to work perfectly. That's not going to affect anyone's life who's trying to use the internet to do their job and work, and all these people that are eternally attached to all of their devices, and so much of their life evolved around that, not including organizing violent events. That's going to be just great.
Well, I think about in our country, we hear about gun control all the time, gun control. And we talk about, well, if we limited access to guns, that would help the gun violence. Well, really, all it does is limit the ability to protect yourself from good citizens. And then the ones that are going to do crimes anyway, they're going to get
What
the
did
guns.
you just tell me a couple of days ago? You rattled off several cities who had the strongest gun control laws. We're amongst the most crime-ridden.
Listen, we're the number 3 highest gun violence nation in the world. But if you take out 5 or 6 of the largest, most restrictive gun cities in America, being Los Angeles, Detroit, Chicago, and a few others. There's like 5 or 6 of them. You take those cities out, and we become the 128th nation. Think about that. From the 3rd nation. But where I'm going with this is I'm not trying to talk about guns here. I'm just saying that when you restrict the internet to targeted, all you're really doing, the people that are going to incite violence, they have other ways of communicating. You're just really shutting down the people who need to actually, like you said, do your work, communicate with your family, check on your kids, where they're at, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we don't like to think about things that, pacifying people in their idle time with, social media, games, whatever. But maybe some people are actually staying out of trouble by using the internet. I don't know. It's a lot. But for one thing for sure, they're going to be extremely angry about this.
Oh, yeah. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, will you do that for us right now? Because nothing helps us more than that. And if you're watching us on Rumble tonight, you also got a like button down there. Hit that like button, subscribe, follow us. We appreciate it so much. And we just want to say thank you to all of our partners that are out there. You guys are amazing. All those that have clicked that join button right down below the screen, you don't even know what you mean to us. It is just such a great encouragement. Let's continue in the news tonight, Sandy. One of the things that Paul and I talked about on that show that we recorded today is that, it's like we talk about Russia and Ukraine, and then we forget about Russia and Ukraine because something else is happening. So much stuff is going on.
Yes.
Well, this was really jumped out at me today. This is breaking today, and you're not going to hear this hardly anywhere else. A U.S. general is so proud to announce that we have now developed a new staging ground in Poland that gives U.S. military, quote, options. Think about what this means. So Poland, think about where Poland is and think about what Poland is next to, okay? The United States took another step in being ready for any future war or other potential contingencies in Eastern Europe with the recent unveiling of a new military staging area in central West Poland. The new staging area will be able to accommodate as many as 3,600 American troops and roughly an Army brigade's worth should they be rapidly needed in that part of the world, something on military planners' minds after the first large-scale invasion by one country of another in Europe since World War II. Staging area, which spans about 75 acres, will allow U.S. troops to arrive, organize, and be ready in as little as 3 days, if necessary. Wow. Now, what do you think this is about? So we keep hearing people try to tell us, oh, we're sending money over there so that we don't have to fight the war. First of all, we've already been fighting in this war. We've already had people on the ground. That's the bottom line, okay? You may not want to accept that and believe that, but we have forces that have been there. Yeah, maybe sure. Not official major forces, but we've had forces that are there. We are funding them by billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Money. So much money.
And now we're gonna be in Poland.
And guess who knows that?
Yeah, exactly. Vladimir Putin. He knows that.
Known that. So, wow.
So now we're going to be ready in case we're needed. Why would we be needed in that area of the world?
Yeah, so I've been hearing, and we're probably going to be talking about this later, something may be getting ready to happen between July 4th and 6th. And I don't know. It's not surprising. I hope it doesn't. And we hear a lot of these things put out there, what ifs, and this could possibly happen. So we're going to be talking about this right now, I guess, apparently.
Yeah.
Where I was leading. But
let's just go ahead and go there.
When you think it can't ramp up, when you think it can't ramp up anymore, wait, hold on.
Okay.
Here we go.
So let's look at this one. This is exactly what you were talking about. Headline, attack against Ukraine nuclear plant coming within 48 hours. Yes. Now, we have been following this story for several days, and people have been leaking information about this, but now solid information is starting to come out. And the local wind direction is the key for NATO to find cause to enter the war. I'm going to read this headline again. Attack against a Ukraine nuclear plant is scheduled to happen within 48 hours. Local wind direction is the key for NATO to find cause to enter the war. Now, what does this mean? The mass media in the West is already hyping a so-called pending Russian attack against, I ain't going to try to say that name, nuclear power plant. The fact that they're already laying blame on Russia should clue you into the truth, the exact opposite. Ukraine needs this to get NATO into the war. All right, so look at this. These are the headlines. They're just showing you the headlines. Serious threat. Fears Putin preparing to blow up Europe's biggest nuke plant as he evacuates Russian troops.
So this is the biggest one.
This is the biggest one in
Okay.
Europe. So that's what it's all about. Public perception. They want the public primed so that when an attack does take place, Russia gets the blame. So if Russia, here's what this story is all about, that if Russia actually is blamed for bombing Europe's largest nuclear plant, NATO has to get involved. And that is exactly what Ukraine wants. Thank you for that super chat, Johnny,
Yes,
and thank you for the one that James that just gave us a while ago.
Thank you very much.
But what does NATO mean getting involved? Listen, that doesn't just mean NATO. That means America. That means UK. That means the people that have the biggest militaries in the world. So, Sandy, we've been hearing that they've started evacuating, but we're always skeptical. Is this the narrative, or is this actually what's happening?
Yes.
You were started talking about that. So finish your thoughts of what you're
hear
hearing.
so many things, and every week we come in here and things have escalated, at least in word, if not in actual action.
Yes.
It's hard for me to process that we're here, that we're actually on the doorstep. Something serious could happen at any moment.
At any moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, if NATO gets involved, you know, we as Americans, we think, okay, well, that immediately means our loved ones are going to be called up to this. And we know how this thing works. It's not just, remember, let your mind go back to Iraq. Iraq was got everybody on board, which basically was the NATO countries. And there's thousands of young men and women were lost their lives in that. So
even those that did not die were injured.
Yeah.
In some of the things that supposedly happened over there. They came home and not just PTSD, but they had ongoing and probably lifelong problems.
Yeah.
And you don't know what could happen when you get in a war theater, especially when you start talking about which way is the wind blowing and nuclear and fallout and radiation and all these things.
Because
it's very serious.
Because thank you for that super check, King Lon. I appreciate it.
Hey, Deborah, Kaylee. I haven't seen you before. Good to see you tonight.
So here's why it's so important for us to understand the wind direction thing. Is because they're going to say that the radioactive damage of this, the wind, they're waiting on the wind so that the wind they can project that it's going to go towards Europe.
And isn't that curious that they would even, think about it. We know it's a fact in the situation, but to even, put that in this, I don't know, maybe Hal Turner's people, or he knows someone who put that together, and he just published this article.
Well, look at this here.
To drill it down to that, to be talking about wind.
Yeah. It says Ukraine started giving out potassium iodide or iodine pills to their citizens this past weekend. Ukraine announced permanent evacuations from areas 16 kilometers of the plant. Permanent? How would they know it needed to be permanent? So let me just tell you, you can say what you want to say, but this article that we're following and that we're reading from is theorizing and suggesting that maybe this is a setup. We don't know. We live in a world.
You can't fully trust anything that they say or put out there.
Yeah.
You have to. It's
remember weapons of mass destruction confirmed. We get over there's not weapons of mass destruction. It's all what they call psyops. It's distraction. It's all trying to false flags, these kind of things. So yeah, the whole thing about the dam, we still don't even know who really blew up the dam. Initially it was Russia. Then many people started coming out on the ground saying it was Ukraine that blew it up themselves to try to blame Russia.
When we start getting into all these news articles, I wish we knew someone who knew what the absolute truth was.
Yeah, me too.
So that we weren't trying to split hairs and go back and forth and try to understand things that can't be understood from over here.
Yeah.
Maybe someone that's on the ground or someone
because
that
how
knows
are we going to really know if
Yes.
this nuclear plant gets hit and all of a sudden NATO's brought in? How are we really going to know? This is the world we live in now.
Yes.
Did Russia do it? Did Ukraine do it to pull NATO in?
Yes.
Who really did it? So what are we going to do? We're going to believe CNN? We're going to believe Fox News? I mean, come on. Who are we going to believe? So it's like,
need a reliable
the
source.
best thing to do is we need to stay out of it. We need to stay out of it. We don't need to go. We need to get out of the war any way we can.
Oh, my goodness.
And I don't know how that way is. I have no idea how that way is. But
so speaking of nuclear power plants, was Chernobyl not located in southern Ukraine?
Absolutely was.
This was like
Yeah.
1986, and it's still mostly uninhabitable, or if not completely uninhabitable.
Yes.
Because of how long the half-life is once something like that happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sandy, I want to take a moment just to welcome all of our new people tonight. And if you don't know, if we are on Rumble, you can go to rumble.com/Larry Ragland. And that's our backup channel, but that's more than our backup channel. It's becoming a major channel for the big picture. And that's given us an opportunity if we get knocked off here, which has happened before, that Rumble did not knock us off. So make sure that you are following us on Rumble.
It's really great because our numbers are growing every week on Rumble, and it's just exciting to see.
Absolutely. Well, we all know this guy. This is who we were talking about, Vladimir Putin. The dude was supposed to have been dead a year and a half ago. We heard he had cancer. He's dying at any moment. I don't know how they're propping him up because multiple people have confirmed that he does have serious cancer. Yeah. But he just keeps coming around. But watch this. This is an unusual story. But the reports are coming out that he's paranoid that Russia is trained. Their Kremlin killer Mozzie fear. Paranoid Russia fears United States is training genetically modified.
Is Bill Gates working over there too? What is going on?
We'll get to Bill Gates in a few minutes, but
he sent mosquitoes over there.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It says Russia is paranoid. Now, why would they be paranoid unless they've heard rumors that the United States is training genetically modified attack mosquitoes to launch attack against Moscow.
Can we just pause there for a moment?
What?
We're training mosquitoes now? Okay.
Training. Hey, look, it's possible. Anything's possible, right? Paranoid Russian politicians fear America is training genetically modified attack mosquitoes to launch an attack on Moscow. They believe that scientists are working on how to infect the insects with killer viruses, which will then, they claim, be launched on the capital, infecting millions. They have given the supposed project a name and set up a unit to defend against the attack. Details emerged in the film of MP Irina Yoroyeva, head of the Parliamentary Committee for Security. She said, I will name just one Pentagon project called Allied Insects. How do you assess the risk and threats? How are we prepared? We are waiting for proposals to ensure our economic security. What? What? Killer mosquitoes. Attack mosquitoes. Do we have that technology in America?
We're training them.
Do we have what? Attack mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are pretty bad. Now they have malaria. They can kill you with malaria. But now Russia is saying we are training them in our labs, not just injecting them, training them how to find Russians and infect them. I just thought y'all would like to know that. That's just
what the holy stuff pickles is going on. Love it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, not just the other day, Sandy. Stay with us, everybody. Thank you so much for smashing that like button because that means the world to us. It helps us. But let's get back into the news. And this right here, just the other day we was talking about this supposed Russia coup. This was an interesting news article that came out of that Russian coup because what do we talk about on here all the time? Distractions. Psyops, false flags, all
it's
this
a shell game. Look
divert
over
us.
here.
Well, look at the CIA, what the CIA has come out with. Russian coup has provided the CIA with recruitment opportunities, say the director of the CIA. I mean, they've come out and admitted this. Watch this. The United States has, quote, a once-in-a-generation opportunity to recruit spies for the CIA thanks to the Russian upheaval, according to CIA Director William Burns. He continues to display strong ties with the Chinese Communist Party, relationship which continued even after President Biden picked him to be America's top spy, highlighted by the recent Wagner revolt. as a challenge to President Vladimir Putin and argued that it demonstrated a corrosive effect of the Russian war society. Now, I'm going to play this little 1-minute video.
Oh, yay.
This, and it may be 30 seconds, I'm not sure. This is a commercial. Yeah, I couldn't believe this. I verified this is true. This is a commercial that the CIA made and has leaked into YouTube accounts for people in Russia during this supposed coup that only lasted 24 hours. Listen to this.
Это та жизнь, о которой я мечтал. Тот путь, который я себе выбрал. Почему жизни одних людей ценятся больше, чем жизни других? И кто это решает? Быть героем – это значит выстоять. Но выстоять – это всегда будет моя Россия.
Look, it's an
Я
app.
выстою.
Contact the
Моя
CIA.
семья выстоит. Мы будем жить достойно, благодаря моим действиям.
The video ends with instructions on how to get in touch with the CIA anonymously. This is unbelievable, y'all. This is unreal. This is real. This is really real. And it says, this part of the ad, disaffection by the war will continue to gnaw away at the Russian leadership between this day. And it appeals to the patriotic Russians that care about their country and they feel like Vladimir Putin is destroying their country. So for the good of the motherland, contact the CIA and tell us everything you know on the ground and become a spy for us. Use this app. Download the CIA app.
What this is going to get them is dead. They're going to be found out. They're going to be gunned down in the streets.
What in the world?
If this is even real.
This
if this
is real.
Even real. Don't do it, Russian people. Don't do it.
Never thought we'd be looking out for the Russian people during the Cold War. But you know, the Russian people, they're still just people. You know, let's just tell it like it is. They're still just people.
Of course they are.
They're human beings.
They're families.
They're
they
families,
love their
yes.
children. They want to make a better life for themselves, for their family.
Absolutely.
And I pray to God that they are not sucked into this crazy idea because they will be found out and they will be harmed. So.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff's going on with Russia, and we continue that, you know, Saudi Arabia and Russia have announced this week to make new cuts in oil production.
Great.
You know what? Long ago, we was experiencing a bunch of mean tweets and stuff like that. That's all I'm going to say. But it wasn't long ago during the mean tweets that we became energy independent. We literally told Saudi Arabia, go do what you want to do. Go to OPEC, go do what you want to do. We don't need you anymore. We are producing oil here. We got us. And in a matter of years, we're back kissing the finger, kissing the hand of Saudi Arabia. And now we are funding a war to try to defeat a man who is the second or maybe even now the most powerful oil broker in the world because of what we have done and shut down all of our stuff in our country. Major oil hubs, Saudi Arabia and Russia, announced this week oil supply cuts in what Saudi Arabia described as an attempt to, quote, stabilize markets. Saudi Arabia's move was announced in the state-run Saudi press agency, which said that the kingdom will extend July cuts of 1 million barrels per day into August. For that month, Saudi Arabia is expected to produce 9 million barrels. The state agency cited a source which described the cuts as having the goal of, quote, supporting the stability and balance of oil markets. The cuts could drive up oil prices, shocking. No.
You're kidding.
Within the efforts to ensure the oil market remains balanced, Russia will also voluntarily reduce this oil supply in the month of August by 500,000 barrels per day, cutting its exports to the quantity to global markets, raising the prices, punishing the ones that are funding the war against him, supposedly has the embargo against him. It is not hurting Russia. Russia is not being hurt. Now, I'm not saying they get the greatest economy in the world, but they're not being hurt by these actions. They're not being hurt by this war. Who is being hurt is America, UK, all the people that's sending all this money while our people are suffering.
Yeah. Not only did we do what you said, but haven't depleted, but cut into our strategic reserves. And so now they're low as well. So, of course, we have to go running to others.
Yeah, yeah. Have to go running to others. That's exactly right. Exactly right.
People that don't like you.
People that don't like you. And we got the CBDC happening. We're going to talk about it in just a minute. The push.
Everybody's talking CBDC.
Everybody's talking CBDC.
These people didn't even know what that was.
They're
now everybody's spouting CBDC like they've been talking about it for the last 5 years. But that's because we all understand how critical it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's important in the mind training of the Americans.
And, in the middle of all this, we're talking about Russia, talking about China, talking about all these other countries. There's this thing called BRICS that we talk a lot about here on this show. Yes. You've heard about the G7. Well, people's leaving the G7. Think about it. While France is burning, they're deciding their future is with Russia, not with America. They've now petitioned to leave the G7 and to enter BRICS.
Who would have ever believed this 10
Never
years
would have
ago? Wouldn't have believed it.
The United States and the dollar and the pound is beginning to be worthless around the world.
But guess what? The ruble is rising in value.
It's rising. The Russian dollar, the ruble.
What happens the day we go 1-to-1 and then they leave us behind?
Yeah. And what's the one that's Chinese? Yen?
Yuan.
The yuan and the ruble are rising, and the dollar and the pound are crashing. And the banking industry is being taken over, manipulated. Just to hit this one real quick here, speaking of Europe, 80 bank branches are closing each month, this month included in the UK, including Lloyd's. You've always heard of Lloyd's of London. Lloyd's, Halifax, NatWest. Customers are demanding a traditional bank counter services falling as more and more people use online and mobile banking nowadays. Several banks are closing branches across the UK. They're closing in America. See, a lot of times we talk about American things here, but what's happening in America is happening all around the world. Banking is shutting down. The dollar is shutting down. Actual cash is shutting down while wars are happening, while famines are happening in other countries. The banking system is crashing. Where and why is this happening, Sandy? It is because we believe, and we fully believe that we're right on this. It is moving towards a beast system. It is moving towards what the Bible tells us is going to happen. We will never apologize on this show. We know where this is headed. That's why God brought us out of Nana and Pawpaw world and put us on the internet, and is about to put us on Christian television to take on more, because we have to show people the big picture.
It's that push and pull. It's that feeling like you're being corralled into a narrow corridor to be, forced into basically a new system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
New ways of doing things.
So one of the things that Pastor Paul and I talked about, and I want to advertise this one more time. If you get a chance, look for this show. If you're watching it live, it'll be tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central.
Great.
One of the things that we talked about how these train wrecks and all these things that are happening were all practice runs.
The derailments that were, was that February, March?
Yeah. We're just talking about how, for so long we heard people shooting up power plants, substations. Then it just sort of stopped. Then you had a wave of train derailments, and then that just sort of is starting to wind down. Not as much. Now we have people bombing just out of nowhere in Washington, D.C.
Right.
And
very curious.
So we see trial runs of things that are happening where they're all going to come together at one time. But the one thing that I want to talk about, I want to park here a little bit and do a few shows on tonight and wake people up, because that's what we say. We ain't woke, but we're awake. And is that ultimately we got to have certain things to survive. Obviously in the world that we live in, you got to have money. We talk a lot about the money aspect, but you got to have food and you got to have water. One of the things that Paul pointed out, he says, isn't it interesting that most of those trains that derailed into the water system? And he says so much stuff happened about the water when it came to these train derailments. Now we have air being affected by these forest fires and all this kind of stuff. But what's the other thing? We need water, we need air, and we need food. And so I want to hit a few things that are coming out in the news this week. And it's just interesting to me that all of these came out this week. The USDA in America has approved Bayer's, we know Bayer aspirin, but they are heavily involved in the food and many other types of industry. Agriculture. Bayer's new GMO smart corn system. Listen, it's not just smart corn, but smart corn system. It's called Precision Smart Corn System. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but the engineered corn is designed to be smaller but produce the same yields. Now, I'm not going to read all this. What I want to show you is this video that's promoting how awesome this is. And I want you to notice how these farmers are being portrayed to just love this. And one of the things that's key about this corn that is being released to farmers, and they went out with the public relations this week, promoting it this week, all together with what I'm going to show you right after this, all at one time, is notice how small it is. And it's being pushed that it's smaller because that's better. Just watch this right here.
It's the dawn of a new era for growing corn, and we're helping to lead the way. Bayer is excited to introduce an innovative new solution for farmers. The Precision Smart Corn System, powered by short stature corn hybrids and FieldView, representing a transformational shift in how corn will be produced.
You can track your corn on your phone. Wow, thank you for that $50 super sticker, Karen.
My goodness. Thank you very much.
What a blessing.
Precision Smart Corn System will help farmers better manage risk and maximize their yield potential.
So great.
Increased opportunities to optimize their crop inputs, seeding rates, and field placement. The Precision Smart Corn System will consist of 3 key components, each one complementing the other to provide our customers an enhanced experience. The first component is short stature corn hybrids with a target plant height of 5 to 7 feet compared to traditional corn's 9 to 12. This innovative product helps protect crops with increased tolerance to high winds, offers season-long access with standard ground equipment, and can help increase yield and profit potential.
It's going to help increase yield and profit potential. Yeah, right.
Leading in those benefits is the second key component of the Precision Smart Corn System, an end-to-end
digital experience. Your corn.
Yeah.
Your corn is now going to have an end-to-end from going in the ground to going in your mouth.
Why not?
Digital.
Your digital experience should not be limited to your devices, right?
Why not make your corn digital?
That's right.
Digital experience powered by industry-leading tools, including FieldView. These digital tools will help farmers further optimize potential outcomes through custom field placement.
So you can sit in your living room and you can track your corn. You can look at your corn. You can see the heat-sensitive temperature. Look, that's a heat-sensitive map. He can see from his app which stalks of corn are in the sun, which are not, which are growing.
And seeding rate recommendations, which will help maximize the performance potential of Bayer products on the farmer's fields.
Bayer products.
Finally, farmers using the Precision Smart Corn System will be backed by the tailored support of
Customer
Bayer
support.
and select dealer and seedsman partners.
Your corn has customer
Team members
support.
from Bayer working in squads.
Hey, baby, I went outside and I was looking at her corn, and her corn was turned a little bit brown. What should I do?
Call customer support.
Call customer service. Hey, I was just calling y'all to ask y'all what I was supposed to do because I'm looking at my corn and I was looking at my map and my map was telling me that it needed to be about another 3 inches taller than it was. What should I do? What? Oh, okay. All right. I'll try that on my app. Give more nitrogen.
CJ says smart corn.
What in the world?
Smart
What
corn.
in the world?
Yeah.
But they're promoting this as the most amazing thing that's ever happened to corn. Corn was already the most GMO thing in the world,
Yes.
and now it's digitized.
Okay, so I listened to everything that was said in this little video. It was a little helpful. But so what we were talking about the other day about the ability to track.
It's coming. I got that article. It's coming.
But that's an application that's already in this new smart corn.
Yep.
It wasn't mentioned.
Right.
But that's exactly an application that's there that wasn't talked about.
Exactly. In fact, I want to go ahead and skip over to that if I can find it. Let's see. Is that it right there? There it is. I want y'all to see this. This is what we were talking about the other night. We were sitting at home, and I said, Sandy, you've got to hear this. This is right here. A company has introduced invisible barcodes.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, please listen to every word of this, okay?
This is mind-boggling.
You really need to try to grasp and process this.
Companies create invisible barcodes that track food through the supply chain and monitor the amount of the carbon in the product. These microscopic fingerprints are not visible to the naked eye and cannot be adulterated or removed from the product onto which it is applied. Index Biosystems, a Canadian-based biotech firm, has created a microscopic biometric barcode that allows companies and producers to track the origin of food products. The invisible barcode was created with baker's yeast, a leavening agent, and a single-cell microorganism with water, has merged with Index proprietary tracking software. That's why she brought that up when we was talking about looking at that app. Creating what the company calls a biotag. Nature's Code DNA provides an elegant way to design uniquely identifiable biotags from baker's yeast. They are microscopic barcodes that securely link a product to its supply chain data. Together with Trailhead software, the complete solution enables true supply chain and digitization and provides reliable product identification. The one thing I want to show you, Sandy, before you comment is this. It says, it goes on to say, every biotag includes a unique identifying sequence that is stored in the digital registry. And Trailhead acts like a link between the biotag and the supply chain and can be securely integrated with existable traceability software. And I don't know where it's at, but it goes on to say, like it gives an example. If the product is found to have E. coli, for example, and needs to be recalled, the biotag can simply be scanned and immediately locate the point of origin. And it says this. It goes on to say, the GS1 standards in the biotags can verify the carbon footprint of a slice of bread. And I couldn't find it in there, but it says in the article that even when the wheat is processed into flour, it does not remove the biotag. It can still trace it in the flour that it put on the wheat. Is this not
This is
a
beyond
movie?
What
in the world
we can really process and understand. But ladies and gentlemen, what we are saying essentially is every morsel of food, every ounce of food, if not soon, at least eventually, will be tagged so that it can be tracked.
Yep.
And this is beast system technology.
Absolutely.
It absolutely ought to scare each and every one of us, because if it can be tagged and tracked, what is that? What purpose is that for? Control. To control when you get food, how much food you get, to know exactly what food you got, the quality of it. And if you want to drill it down, what I've heard is food will be rationed and given or not given by the calorie.
Let me tell you what's coming to my mind. Everything, Sandy, is being digitized. Everything.
And thank you, Jeffrey Nail, for your earlier comment about smart dust basically inside us, so that they can, it's going to get down to this. They're going to know what's in your body. Well, some people know who Mike from Around the World is. Mike from Around the World on Paul Begley's show says we're already all tagged. We're already we're already digitized. Absolutely did.
But I want to tell you something. The purpose of digitization is not, it's being sold as ease, and convenience. But it's all about, as Sandy said, control. But it's more than control. It's the ability in that control to turn off and turn on. We talk about CDBC that has the ability. It's programmable money. They can turn your money on, turn your money off, depending on how you line up with social media, social issues, and so forth. Well, if your food is digitized, this is what comes to my mind. If food is digitized and they can sense E. coli in it, then they can turn on viruses in it. They can turn on, they can spoil it. They can kill it. They can take milk. If milk is digitized and they have programmable things in it, they can turn that milk to where it will make you sick.
Yeah, you're talking about maybe hitting it with a frequency from a tower, maybe 5 or 6G when it becomes available.
I know what y'all are thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what have I tuned into? This is one of those kind of channels. No. Thank you for that super chat.
Thank you, Lisa Tell, for that.
What a blessing. No, this is us trying to tell you this is really going on. If you don't believe me, look at this one, Sandy. Look at this one. The United Nations came out today, one day ago. United Nations World Food Program is demanding biometric checks to be implemented to prevent aid theft. Watch this. The U.S. Agency of International Development and United Nations World Food Program are reportedly fuming after they say one of the largest thefts of humanitarian aid has occurred in Ethiopia, resulting in the swift implementation of biometrics to stop this. Do you see how these... Look, I don't doubt that it's very possible that somebody actually just came in and stole it.
Right.
But how convenient that at the time that everything is being digitized and the United Nations is trying to get towards 2030, Agenda 2030 as fast as it can.
Well, your mind is going exactly where my mind immediately goes, and bless us all. I'm becoming a little jaded and untrusting, but my mind goes to, did this actually happen? Or are you just saying this happened to help expedite what you want to do?
Yeah. The article goes on, until the new system and safeguards are in place, all aid has to be cut off for the time being, affecting 20 million people.
Okay, well, great. That gives everybody time to get riled up and say, yes, we demand this system now. Give us this system now.
Exactly. The biometric update notes that biometric systems were deployed several years ago in Yemen to make food distribution more efficient. Where civil war caused and complicated famine, Ethiopia is much the same. Of course, this is happening, in privacy advocates in Africa and elsewhere are raising an alarm. But you know what? You can raise an alarm all you want to, but we're at the point right now you pretty much can't stop it from happening. People's going to need to know how to grow food. They're going to need to know how to. I don't know what's going to happen. I know Jesus is coming soon. Yes. I know that. I know that's happening.
Well, I can tell you right now, it's not easy to grow food. After about 60 days,
This is so true.
I've harvested one tomato.
Hey, y'all, one time me and Sandy's going to have this garden, y'all. I got to tell you this. We decided we was going to have this garden. We borrowed her Papa's tiller, and we tilled that land up, and we took the word of God out, and we spoke the blessing. We did the harvest blessing. We said, we command you to seed to come out of the ground. And you know what? But we were just young, and we forgot you got to go back and pull the weeds out. You got to go back and actually water it. We just expected the Lord to just bring it up. And that's when we realized we are not farmers. We're not farmers. But now,
we need to be.
We need to be. Yes. But now I want to show you something. I'm going to go back to Russia one more time.
Yeah.
While we are genetically modifying and digitizing our corn, while we are digitizing and putting particles in our food where it can be traced, Russia, and I'm not a Russia fan, okay? Russia is communist. They're led by evil dictators. But Russia says, okay, you go woke, you go broke. But this is what we're going to do. Russia comes out in the middle of a war and says they have decided as a country to go all in on all organic food and to ban GMOs, looking to be global leaders in actual food. The average American is intensely vaccinated, borderline autistic fat man. This is what a Russian man says. Slumped in front of a screen, battling a high fructose corn syrup come down, said a Russian government official. Is he wrong? I'm not a Russia fan, but show me where he's wrong.
He might have hit a few of us there.
While the United States has fully embraced genetically modified organisms and an abundance of pesticide in agrochemical-laden crops and livestock, Russia has been working nearly a decade to go purely organic in the country, ostracizing Western foods and brands. My goodness. The media and scientists took the opportunity to blast organic agricultural practices, claiming that it's too expensive and cannot yield enough food. That's what we're saying. It's too expensive to grow something naturally. Yeah. So we have to spend billions of dollars to have AI.
Those doggone bugs and weeds.
But Russia says, you know what? Y'all can go. I'm sorry. I got to read this again. I'm sorry. I don't want to give Russia credit, but this dude comes out and says the average American is intensely vaccinated, borderline autistic fat man slumped in front of a screen battling a high fructose corn syrup come down.
Wow. You ain't lying.
What? Unbelievable. We're killing ourselves with magic smart dust in our body, and the enemy that we're spending billions of dollars trying to defeat is saying, hey, we need to make sure Russia's strong, Russia good. That's my Russian accent.
That was horrible. Literally
we
horrible.
We eat real corn. No. Did I sound Russian?
You didn't sound Russian at all. Like, no.
Sandy, what is happening to our world? Because while that's happening, look at this one. I told you I'm going to park on food a little bit tonight. Tyson, we all know that name.
Yes.
America's largest poultry producer has reintroduced antibiotics due to the economy. The United States' largest poultry processor is removing its label, no antibiotics ever, from the company's tagline, and will reintroduce certain antibiotics to its products as a means to save money. Tyson processes 1/5 of all chickens in the United States. And let me tell you something. I'm a preacher, and I love chicken. Initially pledged to remove antibiotics from its products in 2017.
Only 6 years ago.
Was that in the middle of the mean tweets? I can't remember. Yet has reversed its decision because fewer people now want to buy meat that is way more expensive in large parts thanks to, it's called the Biden economy. Biden economics. What is he calling it now? Biden economics? Bidenomics. That's what he's running on. Bidenomics.
But here's Bidenflation. Thank you, Biden.
Thank you. The Food and Drug Administration suggests limited use of antibiotics in meat production, despite antibiotics having been used in the industry for decades to prevent disease outbreaks amongst chickens, pigs, and cattle, to assist them in gaining weight faster. In other words, makes them get bigger quicker so you can kill them faster. Yeah. Because you got to get them chickens. So they went all natural. 2017, we're all in. We are the company. Put it as their tagline, Tyson Foods, no antibiotics ever. They've had to go back and remove the tagline.
It's that almighty dollar. We can't be worrying about we can't be worrying about
Have you went through a drive-through lately? Chicken and everything else is unbelievable.
Everything is so expensive now. Thank God I rarely go, but when you do and you get that receipt, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, this can't be right.
Exactly. I went this weekend to buy a part for our lawnmower that I always have to have. It breaks down. For years, this part has consistently been around the same price. $50 to $57 for this piece. Mm-hmm. I bought it. I just went and ordered it. I just called them up and said, hey, you got one of these? Because that's what I did. Yeah, you're in luck. Can't believe it. We got it in stock. I'm like, yes, I want it. You
didn't ask the price or anything?
Didn't ask the price. I put my name on it. I ain't even told her this, y'all. I'm about to get in trouble.
Oh, boy.
$57, the most it's ever been last year, every year. So they tell me how much it's going to be. I was like, what? What? Can I see that? I looked at it. Listen to me. $151. What? $151.
Did they give a specific reason as to why, or did they say inflation?
He just said inflation. He said, man, there's nothing we can do. It's inflation.
Oh, my
Basically, from $60 to $151 in a season.
I started to say, you're not going to tell me it's almost tripled in price.
$151.
Oh, my goodness. Help us.
I was like, it wasn't long ago I could buy a used lawnmower for that. I could go on Facebook Marketplace and buy a used lawnmower for that.
Oh. Yeah. Here we go.
Okay, but we're not through. It's only just begun, y'all. We just made it to hour one.
We're just finished.
We just made it to hour one.
We just talked about all that, and it was hour one.
That was hour one. We still got the AI report to come, y'all. That is unbelievable.
Oh, yes.
What we're going to talk about AI. We always save that for the last. But for so long, for all of our lifetime, this guy was known as Prince William. Prince. I keep calling him William. Prince Charles. Prince Charles. Yeah. Prince Charles. Now he is King Charles, the King. Okay, King Charles. Well, one thing about King Charles, he has been consistent in his adulthood. He is a product of this environmental religion. He is one of the prophets of this environmental religion. And now that he is king, one of the things we keep going back, many of you know who Mike from Around the World is. If you don't know who he is, and Thursday nights on Paul Begley's show, we always tell you to go watch that show. It's incredible information.
Definitely check him out.
He has talked about when Queen Elizabeth was the queen for so long, that in the culture of England, there were certain things that could not be done unless done by a king. Do you remember that?
Yep.
So he said the moment that he becomes king,
sure do.
There will be a shift in the world, because there are things that the world has been waiting on England to have a king again, because there are certain powers that are only available to the king. Well, everybody knew where he stood in the climate. Well, this happened just this past week. He is known as the Great Reset King Charles because he's the one at the World Economic Forum that gave the keynote speech and introduced the terms, the Great Reset. He is the one that introduced the world to the Great Reset at the World Economic Forum. So this article is called The Great Reset. King Charles III warns humanity. Listen to this warning from the King of England. Humanity has 6 years left before climate Armageddon. I thought that was such an interesting title because we know, thank you for that super sticker, Patricia.
Yes.
Because we know that in roughly 6 years is what year?
2030.
2030. Yep. We also know that the world is preparing to doing everything they can do to get our eyes away from the Word of God and our eyes on their religion.
Yes.
And one of the most famous words, this word Armageddon, comes from our Bible. Yeah. It's called the Battle of Armageddon, and it comes at the end of a 7-year tribulation period. In fact, shameless plug, every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, I'm teaching the book of Revelation.
How convenient.
How convenient that last Wednesday night, if you missed it, you need to go back and watch it. I did an in-depth breakdown of the Battle of Armageddon, and you can watch that. But Great Reset King Charles III warns humanity has 6 years left before climate Armageddon. Now watch this. This is just pure silliness and pure stage, pure performance. Great Reset King Charles III has issued a chilling warning to humanity. Commit to net zero goals of the World Economic Forum or face Armageddon in just 6 years of time. Charles joined London's far-left Muslim mayor, Sadiq Khan, this week to activate the climate clock, warning that a climate catastrophe will be triggered by, ding, 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 2030. It's almost become laughable
yes.
that this 2030 thing It's not because it's going to be sad what we're about to have to go through. But it is so obvious. How in the world anyone could not see how obvious this is?
Right. It's like they have all their eggs in this basket, and it's going to be like the greatest day ever when, the clock turns over and it's 2030 and this year arrives. And I'm sure some things will already be enacted and underway, but it's like they can't wait for the world's most gigantic party when this pivotal year finally comes around.
But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. It ain't going to be no party for you and me.
Not for us. No.
They want us to eat the bugs.
Yeah, eat the bugs.
So he activates climate clock. It says it'll be triggered by 2030 unless the Paris Climate Agreement's extreme green agenda goals, as dictated by the Davos elite, are adhered to. I want y'all to watch this. This is just silliness. For those that are in the UK, Miriam, love you. Love you. You are the sweetest thing, kindest thing. I hope one day I get to meet you. But, you live there in the UK. We got others that watch us live in the UK. This is your king, and this is the mayor of the largest city in your country. Watch this. This happened this week.
3, 2, 1.
King Charles helped turn on a climate clock at a summit in London this afternoon. It triggers 150 similar clocks across the major cities of the UK, counting down the seconds to 2030. The estimated deadline for limiting climate change to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. But the UK's climate watchdog had a stern warning for the government today. The Climate Change Committee said it's confident that the government would meet its own legally binding targets for cutting emissions by the end of the decade had fallen markedly.
Wow.
So we humans are going to be able to bring down?
Yeah, bring down.
1.5 degrees.
1.5 degrees.
Yeah. Okay.
By driving, I guess, electric cars and not leaving our towns.
You gotta move to the 15-minute city. No car for you.
No car for you.
No car for you.
No car for you.
But yeah, we know the 15-minute cities and electric vehicles and all that are all a part of this, which the whole electric vehicle is ridiculous, seeing that it takes a coal-fired power plant or some means to charge your car. Yeah.
What? All over the UK, he activated clocks that are all over the UK. I mean, when you're making your way around the UK, you are going to be constantly warned by this clock. It is all ending in 6 years, 5 years, 3 years. Wait a minute. What's that girl's name? How dare you? What's her name?
Greta Thunberg.
Greta Thunberg.
The audacity.
How dare you? How dare you take my childhood from me?
Well, come on.
She predicted it. She had a timeline too, right?
Probably.
Didn't Al Gore say we should already be underwater? Al Gore, where you at? Where you at? Why is your hand on this? Why? Do you remember when Rush Limbaugh was counting down every day? The clock that Al Gore said, this is how long we have and it's over? Well, where's Al Gore now?
Yes. So true. It was an inconvenient truth.
How dare you?
Right. Who said conditioning? Yes, Aspen English. They are conditioning. And this clock has over 6 years and 24 days, whatever it said, counting down. Conditioning. Mental conditioning every day. Probably, sadly, a lot of people are laughing. Now, you've got your do-gooders out there and, on the street corners waving their arms and trying to convince people. But it's all a part of that mental conditioning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And not only are they being shown on this clock, Sandy, that how much time they have left, but this is another part of this clock. The clock has a built-in renewable energy lifeline, which shows the actual running real-time percentage of global energy coming from renewable sources, currently sitting at 12.5%, and tracks factors including renewable energy sources, land and inland waters managed by indigenous peoples, climate debt, Monies contributed by countries to the Green Climate Fund and gender parity. What does that have to do with the climate?
Watch him, folks. He's going to be on the streets like those people in Paris.
Throwing
rocks and burning things up.
The doomsday clock for climate has to have gender parity on the clock. What does...
It's so important.
I got it. I know what it is.
Here we go.
Can I say it?
Please.
If we all just hook up with the same what we are, we can't make no babies.
We won't be making any more babies.
So we'll be helping the environment.
No, yeah.
I think I got it. I think that's what it's all about. I think what this whole month, this whole agenda is about. Keep us from having babies so that clock can track gender parity. I can't even believe that I'm reporting this. The clock is the latest in a worldwide project seeking to scare the public, into accepting the goals that must reach zero emissions. You got the King of England, the Mayor of London. Yeah. Let me see him, baby. 3, 2, 1. There. Please give us, please, windmills, please, solar panels, please, gender parity.
Delane says, how much energy is that clock using?
Good point. I didn't see no solar panels. This is stupid. Can I just tell it like it is? This is stupid. Yeah. But you know what? People are watching that, push that button, and they're just like, thank you, Mayor of London. Thank you, King of England. Now I can have a child because I can have a future for my child because in 6.5 years, everything's good. We're going to save the planet. This is stupid.
Do you know why they can stand out there and say that? Because the previous conditioning worked so well on them.
Exactly.
They bought in. Oh, are you kidding me?
She sees what's coming next. Because here's the thing, Sandy. How are we going to survive? Because the sun is heating us. The sun is killing us. The sun is destroying us. So we need help. We need someone to help us with the sun. Yeah. We need Bill Gates.
Who is strong enough to fix the sun?
You know the guy in his garage that just wanted to start a Windows computer company?
His lifelong desire was to fight viruses, right?
Yeah. But now he wants to fight the sun. and thank God for President Biden, too. Because
I'm willing to send him out there.
This has come from...
Let him go fight.
multiple news sources. This is on multiple sites.
Oh, my goodness.
This is absolutely confirmed.
Oh, God.
President Biden, the President of the United States of America.
Yep, that's the one.
Has openly said that his administration would back Bill Gates' plan to fight global warming by blocking the sun.
Please tell me there's a video for this.
President Joe Biden is backing a plan by Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates to fight global warming using experimental geoengineering to block the sun. The plan, promoted by Gates and leftist billionaire, George Soros as well, is involved in this? I'm shocked. Involves blocking the sun's rays from reaching the earth using solar geoengineering. The radical scheme would lower the planet's temperature and allegedly combat global warming. Biden's White House announced that the administration is considering a proposal to block the sun in an effort to meet global green agenda goals to cool the planet. The Biden administration made the announcement in a report published Friday. The White House report presents the concept of solar radiation modification, otherwise known as SRM, as a means of rapidly cooling the planet by limiting sunlight. However, the administration emphasized no decision has been made regarding geoengineering policy. The plan outlined in this report, prepared response, blah, blah, blah. All right, so what is this all about, Sandy? This is all about this right here. Let me see if this is the other one I got here. Nope. Here it is. So the New York Times has jumped on it as well. The New York Times comes out on the same week, the same day that the Biden administration says it's going to pack the plan of Bill Gates to block the sun. The New York Times comes out and says, you need to stay away from the sun 100% of the time. The New York Times. In an article advising readers, quote, how to get absolutely no sun this summer. This was an actual article in the New York Times. It says, it begins by stating there's no such thing as a safe tan, warning that you should avail yourself of a bit of daily sun. You're getting yourself up for sunspots, sun disclosure, blah, 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 blah. So it recommends full face mask in the summer, staying indoors, keep away from every bit of the sun. Now, what are they going to do with this, Andy? They are saying, what a concept. You may have never heard of this before, but it is an idea of flying planes.
What?
In the sky.
Airplanes.
I know this is shocking that you would ever imagine that anyone could do this. And Bill Gates has an idea releasing chemicals.
What?
From an airplane.
Airplanes and chemicals?
Into the sky that will effectively create some type of dust or particles that will reflect the sun and save our lives.
Is there a name or a term for this activity?
It's called the good plan of Bill Gates.
I don't know, but it sounds a lot like chemtrailing.
What? I knew you was going to go there.
Exactly. Thank you, Kanglon. This is exactly where my mind is going. No sun. Limit yourself from natural vitamin D from sunshine.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Do they know something about we're going to need vitamin D for sure, and they want to cut you off from it?
Well, Sandy,
what's going on here?
You asked for a video.
Oh, yay, we're going to get a
what
video.
What exactly is solar geoengineering?
A set of proposed technologies to rapidly cool the Earth.
Let me show you. This is CBS News.
Okay.
Saturday morning.
You're able to cast it over?
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. We were watching it and you couldn't even see it.
We want to share.
We want to share.
We need to share.
I was enjoying
solar
it. So this is, let me throw it to you. This is CBS Saturday morning, and I believe it was actually this past Saturday morning.
Is this something for the children? What? Saturday morning? What?
Oh, come on. You know, it's been around since you were a kid. It's Saturday morning. It's a news show. Actually, I thought it was only Sunday morning. I didn't know there was a CBS Saturday morning. So you're right. It may be for children.
I didn't know.
So let's see what this interview is about. And he's going to answer the question. What is solar re-engineering?
A set of proposed technologies to rapidly cool the Earth by reflecting sunlight back into
Harvard
space.
University.
The idea is based on the cooling effect of volcanic eruptions. When Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines erupted in 1991, it spewed 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide into the sky. That reflected so much sunlight, global temperatures dropped by an entire degree the following year.
So one notion is that we could mimic those volcanic eruptions by sending specially equipped airplanes into the stratosphere to do exactly the same thing.
The U.S. government is now flying high-altitude planes through the stratosphere to study what sun-blocking gases may already be there. Microsoft founder Bill Gates backed a major project at Harvard using balloons to deploy aerosols.
Using what? Using what?
More of those pesky balloons.
So, could the balloons have not only been watching things beneath, but releasing things above? According to this, Bill Gates, I'm going to back it up because I want you to hear that again. And by the way, I may get copyright hit on this. I don't know. We'll see. From CBS, they're notorious for this. But he has already been experimenting with balloons.
But tests where blocking gases may already be there. Microsoft founder Bill Gates backed a major project at Harvard using balloons to deploy aerosols, but tests were put on hold after some pushback. And while it may seem far-fetched, a recent United Nations report seriously considers using giant space mirrors to deflect sunlight, while other scientists propose mining moon dust and launching it at the sun.
Why wouldn't you?
At the Palo Alto Research Center in Silicon Valley, this white tent is a makeshift lab for experiments with something called marine cloud brightening.
This will generate the plume that will contain the aerosols.
It injects salt water into clouds over the ocean.
The idea is you'll make the clouds a little brighter, and that will reflect more sunlight back up into the atmosphere.
Bright clouds.
That's the idea.
Those effects could be beneficial or they could be negative.
We just need bright clouds. We just need brighter clouds.
Just brighten up those clouds a little.
So wait a minute, Sandy.
Solve all problems.
Did we just hear CBS News confirm that you can spray something in the atmosphere and create clouds?
Yep.
Did we just hear confirmation?
Kelly Wanzer runs Silver Linings, an organization advocating for research into climate interventions like cloud brightening. But she says we need to quickly curb our planet-warming fossil fuel emissions because dimming the sun isn't a long-term solution.
No.
It's a sign of desperation.
This would not be the first choice.
No, or third or fourth choice.
Yeah.
You have to compare it to overloading the system with warming and the environmental system starting to break down, which is where we're sitting on the edge of.
This is something that might provide some cooling and buy us some time to rapidly shift away from fossil fuels.
That's right. But there are a lot of things that we don't know. How does the climate system respond if you do that over a long period of time?
If it all sounds like science fiction, well,
You think?
it was.
18 years I had to give a try.
Look.
The 2013 film Snowpiercer depicted geoengineering gone awry.
Wow.
Wait a minute. I'm finish playing this, but is this known as predictive programming?
Sounding and looking a lot like it.
Oh, and look where I froze it at. Harvey Weinstein made this. Harvey Weinstein.
Better days for him.
Turning the planet into a dystopian snow globe and confining
There's that word,
humanity
dystopian
to a
again.
high-speed train. Climate scientists are divided on geoengineering. In dueling public letters, one side calls for accelerated.
So, Sandy, I think a lot of things just happened in that.
Yeah, that was a lot.
That was a lot. We may have just broke through CBS News on the Big Picture Live, because I don't think you heard it on the I don't know how this even made it to CBS Saturday morning, but I think we just got a confirmation that airplanes can affect the clouds.
Sure.
And, but they're not even doing it to clouds. They're saying they're going to the stratosphere and doing it. And did you notice when they're talking about the mirrors and all that? That was weird. But my mind was thinking, what are satellites doing? There's just all kinds of stuff that's happening. And if there's if you spray something in the atmosphere where there's clouds, is that not where we get our drinking water? Is that not where the clouds, is there not still evaporation, condensation?
Exactly.
Precipitation. So if they're spraying something in the clouds to deflect the sun, that's strong enough to deflect the sun, where's it going when it just gets in a cloud? Is it going to go up to the sun? Or is it going to come down to us?
Everything that goes up must come down.
In our drinking water.
Exactly. Getting into the soil, which is the crops, getting into the water, getting into the animals who consume the water.
This is insane.
Without God, we are doomed.
Yeah.
For sure. But I would say to people, most people will not know the name Dane Wigington from geoengineeringwatch.com. And if you want to go out there, of course, he talks about chemtrailing. He calls it, aerosol spraying and all of the components that go into that, different kinds of metals. We wonder why our children are having such high occurrence of autism, and we have such high occurrence of Alzheimer's in our elderly. Could it have anything to do with this aerosol spraying, this chemtrailing?
Unbelievable.
So it's a whole ball of wax.
So, Sandy, the next time somebody tries to bow up on you when you're trying to tell them about chemtrails, just send them to the CBS News this morning.
Exactly.
I mean, I just think it just got confirmed. In my opinion, I think it just got confirmed that if they're saying that, then what are they not saying?
Yep.
All right, so let's go to the next news item. We're coming down off this mountain, but we still got a bunch of people on here with us. We're so thankful for everybody on here. Of course, we can't have a show without talking about the World Economic Forum. We've already talked about them several times, but they have so much power. The World Economic Forum concludes. Do you know, I found out they have so many meetings outside of Davos. I just thought it was Davos.
How does anybody get anything done around here with all these meetings?
I mean, I just thought it was Davos.
Yeah.
They have a meeting called the Annual Meeting of the New Champions. What? The annual meeting of the new champions in China. Yeah. The meeting was held in China with accelerated plans towards global social credit and digital surveillance. Well, of course, if you're gonna want to learn how to implement that, you need to go learn from the Chinese.
Exactly.
The World Economic Forum's annual meeting of the new champions gathered in Tianjin, China, June 27th through the 29th to discuss the latest ideas of promoting, quote, the global transition to a green and renewable economy. There's that religion again. Approximately 1,500 participants attended the 14th annual. The 14th annual?
Who knew?
The World Economic Forum has been having a new champions gathering for 14 years. Do you understand what we're showing you in the big picture is how much has been going on for so long that we didn't know about.
So few knew about it.
They have been plotting and planning for decades. And none of us knew about it.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Approximately 1,500 participants says to boost multiculturalism and a collaboration in a fragmented world. To promote multiculturalism here and to put on the climate timer, gender equity. So stupid. The 3-day event held by some as the Summer Davos. The Summer Davos. I'm going to be watching out for the Summer Davos now. I didn't know anything about it. Started out as a roaring applause from Dr. Evil himself. Use that easy bugs. Klaus Schwab. The World Economic Forum meeting in Tianjin, China kicked off with a round of applause from Professor Schwab. And it says, while geopolitical relations continue to devolve between the United States and China, Klaus and the gang remain all too eager to work with the CCP. So what should inspire little surprise, Chinese Premier Li Qiang wasted no opportunity to flex CCP influence over the globalist stakeholder meeting, blasting the West for apparent efforts to, quote, de-risk the economy by removing China from the global supply chain. So Klaus Schwab said, we must recognize China as the best superpower in the world.
Whoa.
What?
Is that the first time he's made that statement?
That was on July 1st, 2023. Let me read this again.
2 days ago.
While introducing the CCP leader, Chairman Klaus' excitement was hardly contained. He lauded Li's distinguished career in public service and praised his instrumental role in opening China's capital market to the world. Klaus Schwab, we must recognize China as the best superpower in the world, July 1st, 2023.
My goodness. Well, we've heard.
What in the world?
We've heard people dancing around that as China is going to be whatever the world's superpower. But to have someone of his standing to just come right out and say that, it's next level. So.
It's next level. And we have established on this show, and I believe we have fully established, that this is an unelected man who, for whatever, I don't know what he's got on these people. I don't know what kind of pictures he's got on some of these people.
Yeah.
But this dude,
there you go.
He's puppeting everybody in the world. He's the most powerful man in the world. And he's not over a country, but the World Economic Forum right there in Davos, Switzerland. And by the way, you need to go back and watch my video on that. Is unbelievable what comes out of Switzerland. And this man has the power. And now when he says something like that, the world picks up on it. The world feels empowered.
Well, exactly? What's going to happen now is now that he has said it, someone of his stature releases a lot of other people to go ahead and start using that kind of language.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question. I'm trying to make sure that it's not an overtly a political statement, because it is a political statement.
Okay.
But this kind of statement from Klaus Schwab about China would have never happened in the previous administration. Quite frankly, I'm going to say this, in any other previous administration. But he is empowered to say it now because he knows how weak we are.
If somehow he did make that statement, probably a very strong rebuttal or reply would have come from the previous administration. But this article says nothing about a strong reply from our administration.
No. And I'll tell you one article, what it does say is it quotes the rapper Ice Cube this week saying, I'm not playing your game. They're trying to get him to get the wham-wham before he'd make a movie, and he turned down almost $10 million and said, I'm not doing the movie because I'm not doing it. This is what he said. This is in the article. It's just talking about how some people are waking up. He says, they got you once you self-censor. He said, once you self-censor yourself based on what they say, they've got you. Yeah. That's pretty powerful. The man is telling the truth. Okay, the man is telling the truth. And that's the world we live in, Sandy, where the World Economic Forum is dictating. They're all meeting in Davos to get the marching orders. And now we're finding out they're meeting in China, they're meeting in other places. Throughout the year, they are continuing to get their marching orders from the World Economic Forum. What in the world? Whew. But there was a group that didn't, and this is a little quick news item here, that just said, you know what? I don't care what you say. We're not doing it. We're not taking the wah-wah. We're not locking down. We're going to continue doing what we do. You know who that group was? The Amish.
Yeah, look at that.
And guess what just came out this week? The unwah-wah'd Amish death rates 90 times lower than the rest of America.
Very interesting.
90 times. A major study in the impact of the pandemic on the Amish communities has found that wah-wah death rates among the traditionalist groups of citizens are 90 times lower than the rest of America. The main difference, the study revealed, is that the Amish communities completely ignored the guidelines of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. The Amish families did not get wah-wah or wear masks, nor did they engage in any lockdowns, social distancing, or any other type of restriction.
Okay.
But the separated communities didn't avoid catching the virus. However, roughly 90% of the Amish have been infected with COVID, and they have a death rate that is 90 times lower than the rest of America. Almost every one of them got it, but almost every one of them lived.
Very interesting.
Comments? Should we even make comments?
Ooh, I would like to know what everybody out there thinks about that. I'm sure certain people don't want that article circulating too far.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if I'm even still on the air right now. I may just be on Rumble at this point. I've just about hit everything. Wow. Well, we got about 20 minutes left for our 2-hour mark, and we still got some cover. We ain't even got to the AI thing, and the AI one is awesome tonight, y'all. But I do have to say this, because every week, not only do we hear about all this, we also hear about this alphabet agenda and the ridiculousness of it. And I've just got one article tonight that while we are being distracted by everything, these are the kind of things that are happening. In the state of Michigan, if you live in the state of Michigan and you didn't know this already, then alert, okay? The state of Michigan House Democrats pass a bill trying to get it passed, and we know your governor, if it gets to the desk, will probably sign it, to make using wrong pronouns finable by up to $10,000. Wrong pronouns. Michigan House Democrats passed legislation that would make intimidating someone by intentionally using their unpreferred gender pronoun a felony, punishable by a fine of up to $10,000 or imprisonment for no more than 5 years. Now, who knows if this thing's going to make it through? But they have proposed this bill you could go to jail for a man that's wearing a dress and you call him a man?
Yeah.
You could go to jail and be fined $10,000. What?
It's hard to believe this is
our world. What has happened to our world?
Yeah.
As in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man.
That is a perfect phrase to apply to this situation.
I think it's time.
Is it time already?
I think it's time. Bring in old Uncle Jimmy.
Come on, Jimmy. Woo! I miss him.
It's time for, we changed the name. Say it with me. Wait a minute, here we go. The Supernatural AI Update.
Yay.
Woo! We love it. We even got cool AI alien looking backgrounds behind us.
You don't scare us.
You don't scare us. We got Jesus. We bind you in the name of Jesus, you little stinking robot.
Bring on your little spacecraft, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, the godfather of AI speaks out again. He is on a mission, y'all. He says AI is already capable of reason and may soon seek control.
Wait, what?
May soon seek control.
They may seek to take over? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. British-Canadian cognitive psychologist and computer scientist Geoffrey Hinton, known as the godfather of AI, speaks with Nick Thompson of The Atlantic during the Collision Tech Conference in Toronto, Canada on June 28th. So he's a leading mind in the development of artificial intelligence, is warning that AI has developed, not will, has developed a rudimentary capacity to reason and may seek to overthrow humanity. AI systems may develop the desire to seize control from humans as a way of accomplishing other pre-programmed goals, said Geoffrey Hinton. Quote, I think we have to take possibility seriously that if they get smarter than us, if they get smarter than us, which seems quite likely, they will have goals of their own, which seems quite likely. They may well develop the goal of taking control. If they do that, this is in quotes, the godfather of AI says, if they do that, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
You think?
I think he's been watching some movies.
Yeah, I think he probably helped produce some movies.
Probably.
At a very general level, if you've got something that's a lot smarter than you, that's very good at manipulating people, at a very general level, are you confident that people stay in charge? Hinton said. I think they'll derive the motive to seize control as a way of achieving their goals. He previously doubted that an AI superintelligence that could match humans would emerge within the next 20 to 50 years. 30 to 50 years. He now believes it will be in less than 20.
Yeah.
I believe that's probably going to get updated again. Sandy, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable.
All these revelations.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Revelations.
Why are they coming now?
Revelations.
They've known these things.
So one of the things that we covered a few weeks ago is that the military is using AI in some very scary ways.
Yes, they are.
So one of the things, we always go back to the movie The Terminator. Well, in the movie The Terminator, you remember the name of the company? Skynet.
Skynet.
Okay, which, by the way, is the name of the AI technology in China. Okay, they call their AI technology Skynet. Isn't that something? They call it Skynet. It's almost like they're just doing that to just try to intimidate. Yes. Because they ought to know. They know. They've seen The Terminator. They've seen it. I know they've seen The Terminator.
What do we know that the movie didn't take it from them? That they already had it way back then?
Well, my goodness, you just went there.
Predictive programming. And we're talking about 1984, that first Terminator movie.
Yeah, think about that year that you just said.
Yeah.
How interesting. that movie came out. Now look at this. So the article is called Skynet Has Arrived. And it's called this because I want you to hear this. The U.S. military Air Force, in a drone simulation, testing how things could be one day, in a simulation, goes awry. And the aircraft in the simulation kills the human operator and destroys the communication tower.
We did this story several weeks back.
I don't think so.
Okay, this is a different story.
This is a different story. This is a different story.
Because that's what it did in the story several weeks ago.
Maybe it was. Yeah, I'm seeing the dates. Maybe it was. But you're right. Maybe this is it. And I just forgot. I just got so many news articles I forgot.
Much.
But the U.S. Air Force tested an AI-enabled drone that was tasked to destroy specific targets.
Yes.
A human operator had the power to override the drone.
Yes.
And so the drone decided on its own that the human operator was an obstacle to its mission and attacked him and killed him.
Right.
Only in simulation, but simulation or not, this is what the godfather of AI is trying to warn us that is coming.
Yep.
Now, I want to show you a video clip. I have been watching this guy. He's not called the godfather of AI, but he was the leading AI director at Google when Google began to develop AI. Now, we've covered, I think you say his name, Mo Gaudat. And he left Google because he said, this is going to destroy humanity. Wow. And now he's on a mission. He's on show after show after show after show, telling people what he saw and how it clicked inside of him. He was a developer of this technology, and he ran. And now he's on Piers Morgan. And I want you to hear this clip. This is when Piers Morgan asks him, what did you see at Google that made you know that we are way ahead with AI than what we thought we were? Listen to this.
You were part of this quite secretive Google X group, which I presume your job was to think the unthinkable about stuff like AI. And you very quickly were out of the traps to warn people, look, this is serious. What was it that you saw where you thought, okay, we've got to be really careful now?
This is going to sound so elementary and so simple, but he knew this was like a child learning right before his eyes. Listen to what he saw and witnessed at Google that caused him to say, what are we doing?
We had a tiny bit of an experiment that was about teaching robotic arms to grip items that were some funny developer used children toys in front of those arms. And basically they kept trying for weeks without any success whatsoever. And I passed by them and I was thinking we wasted so much money on something that wasn't going to work. On a Friday evening, one of them gripped one yellow ball, showed it to the camera. And basically, I was like, there you go, millions of dollars for one yellow ball.
Okay, do you see how he was just playing it off? Wow, we spent millions of dollars training this AI robot, all of these groups of robots to pick up these little balls, and they can't even pick up a ball.
Yep.
This is going to be, that's why they said 30, 50 years before this could ever take
So after weeks, one picked up one ball.
He just happens to pass by on a Friday.
As he's getting ready for this weekend.
Right.
So I've got an idea what you're about to say or what he's about to say.
All right. All Monday morning, every one of them was gripping every yellow ball. By a few weeks later, every one of them was gripping everything. The speed.
Now, so he goes home. He comes back after the weekend, and over the weekend, all the other robots communicated with the one that figured it out. And when he came back in on Monday morning, every one of them were holding the balls. And within a matter of weeks, they were picking up anything you put in front of them.
That at which those machines were learning is staggering. But at the same time, the understanding we have about why they learn, why they do what they do, is very, very limited.
Is that self-designing what they were doing?
They basically are mimicking human
I
intelligence.
mean, the reason I asked that is I interviewed Professor Stephen Hawking just before he died. His
Let's
last
skip through
television
this.
interview, and I asked him, what is the biggest threat to mankind?
After I left was all about that. And the idea...
It can improve itself rapidly, and we may lose control.
I mean, it seems very prescient
so Stephen Hawking, I'm no fan of Stephen Hawking, so how he mocks God and everything, but he's considered to be this amazing mind, incredible mind. So the last thing he said before he died, publicly was the greatest threat to humanity is not the universe, it is AI.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean...
But that was prescient. This is really what you're talking about.
I left in 2018, warning in my first video that I issued after I left was all about that. And the idea that, you know, we always had three boundaries, if you want, for AI. We said, don't put them on the open internet until you solve the control problem. Don't teach them to code, because that makes them self-developing.
Right.
And don't have other AIs prompting them, other agents working with them. And we've crossed all three lines.
I mean, I remember...
All three. So do you understand what he's trying to say? He told them 3 things you cannot do right now. And they've done all 3. He said, do not put this on the internet until we've mastered control. Yeah. Do not teach them how to code, because then you give them the ability to create.
Yes.
And then what was the last thing he said? The third thing?
Can't remember the third thing.
Let me go back. I want to hear what he said again.
Control problem. Don't teach them to code, because that makes them self-developing. And don't have other AIs prompting them, other agents.
Other AIs prompting.
And we've crossed all 3 lines.
Don't have other AIs prompting them. You remember it wasn't that long ago when the Google Home came out?
Yes.
And they set 2 of them together and they started having a conversation with each other back and forth. And it was so cute and funny, and people were live streaming it. And then all of a sudden, they created their own language.
Yeah.
And were talking in unknown tongues.
Yeah.
Somebody said one time when I talked about this, they got filled with the Holy Ghost. They started talking in unknown tongues and started communicating where other humans could not understand what they were saying.
Yeah, because they were so smart. They knew to do that. Scary.
He said the 3 things you cannot do, and he said we have crossed all 3.
Already. It was curious to me, one of the captions under his name said, hold off on having kids or starting a family.
He did. He did say later on the interview, he said one of the things that he tells people wherever he goes, he advises people do not have children, because you do not want to bring children in the world that's coming with AI. You know, I'm not there. I'm still thinking you ought to have children. But he literally says, this is the world that is coming. You do not want your children to be raised in this world. I don't know if this man believes in any kind of God or whatever. I have no idea where he stands in his mindset. But he sees a world that is much worse than anything we've even seen in movies.
Yes.
At least in movies, you know, people could still, you know, play video games and all that. He's saying, don't even have children because it's what is coming. Now, we're not saying that, but we're just saying for somebody that's worked in that, whether he's trying to
as
sell books or whatever.
That's an authority to be speaking so strongly and to have, quite frankly, seems very fearful.
He seems very fearful. Yeah. And so I saw in the comments, somebody said, I've seen this guy interviewed many times. He tells the same story everywhere he goes. That is the truth. Everywhere he goes. Well, you know what? I'm not saying anything against what you just said, because I felt the same way, because I had heard him give this interview on Redacted and some other places that he had been. He's just on a mission. He's just like, I have to keep telling the moment that I knew. The moment that I knew. I mean, he walks by, he sees the robot, picks up the ball. A simple little thing, he picks up the ball, that's it. But when he comes back in 2 days, they've all picked up the ball, he realizes, oh, what have we done?
Yep.
They've been communicating with each other. They've been mimicking each other. They've been saying, almost like they were looking at their buddies going, hey, look, do like this. Go slow, go slow, go slow. Now move your hand. And all of a sudden, now you try it. Now you try it. Now you try it. Well, if that's really what's happening, that really is a movie.
Yeah.
That's really Terminator.
Yes. Yes, it is.
That's really where we're at.
We need to pray for this guy because it's very admirable that he's out here trying to get this message out, but he's probably got a target on his back now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. What a show. What a show. We're not through yet.
So much stuff.
If you have not went out to our website, I want to show you our website, LarryRagland.com, LarryRagland.tv. You can help us reach millions of people. In just a matter of weeks at the time of this recording, we are going to be recording 13 shows, 3 months worth of television programs. And can I tell you something that's powerful? We got one more news item to show you that's going to close it out that is very, very important for you to hold up and wait for just a moment. But something really amazing. If you remember, it was either last week or week before, I told you about a gentleman out in Nevada that said, because it's going to take $23,300 to do the 3 months of programs and reach 30 to 50 million people in their homes, potential people in their homes. And it's $23,300. And the guy said, I believe so much in what you're doing. If you tell the people, once you hit $5,000, I'll match another $5,000. So I told that, and I had a gentleman come up to me and give me a $5,000 check yesterday. Unbelievable. Made out for the television ministry. Not to me, but to the television ministry. We put it in the bank today because that thing was burning my fingers. And I was like, I could get that in the bank, get ready for the television ministry. Well, the guy in Nevada is going to match that. So I got a message today saying, once you hit, I can't even believe I got this message. Once you get $10,000 after this, I'll match it with another $10,000. What? So $10,000 becomes $20,000 once we reach $10,000. So if you want to help us in any way, you know what? When I say this, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, because I saw this today and it touched me so much. And if you're watching and this is you, you know who you are. I'm not going to call your name. But I went out and I looked at those that have went out to our website and gave through this link here, and somebody gave 50 cents. And when I saw that, it was a 50-cent gift. When I saw that, I did not say, 50 cents? You put 50 cents on a credit card? No, I was so touched by that because I realized that was somebody that said, I don't know what their situation was. They said, I'm going to give something. I'm going to give something.
We thank you for that.
And they sold 50 cents. Can I tell you something? Thank you.
Yes.
Because that's 50 cents that was not there.
That's right.
And that's going towards souls. That's going towards people being saved. That's going towards the word of God being preached.
Amen.
So whatever you can give, we appreciate it.
Yes,
if you would like to write a check, and some of you have already done that, we just got a P.O. box. We got your gift in the mail this week. Write it out to Larry Ragland Ministries. Send it to P.O. Box 9489, Birmingham, Alabama. If you don't have time to write all this down, it's all in the description of this show, YouTube and Rumble, and it's also obviously available at LarryRagland.com. So we appreciate that. And, of course, you can also pre-order our book that's coming out in a matter of weeks right here in this month. I See Greatness in You. One more story, Sandy, that we've got to cover tonight, and it is because tomorrow is a very important day.
Yes, it is.
In the United States of America. Yep. Now, I'm sorry to our UK friends out there. Okay, you know we sometimes call you the motherland. Okay, so we celebrate tomorrow as the day that we said sorry, King. Was it King George? I think it was King George. We're sorry, but sorry, not sorry.
We're out of here.
We're out of here. All right. You keep trying. You should have left our tea alone. You should have left our tea alone. You start taxing our tea without representation, and we dumped that stuff in the harbor and said it's over. But you know the interesting thing about tomorrow that I think some people, even in the United States of America, are not aware of is that we celebrate the 4th of July and we call it Independence Day.
Right.
And we call it Independence Day, and people think that's when we got our independence. But that is not when we received our independence as a nation.
Right.
In fact, we still had the war to fight. 1776 was before the war. It was many, many years later where we actually became a nation. Yeah. But we call it Independence Day because that was the day that we signed the Declaration of Independence.
Yep.
Can I tell you something right now that how July 4th can preach to you and how we can preach to you right now, no matter where you're from in any country around the world, is that the Bible says that we have the ability in our mouth to call those things that are not as though they were. The power of life and death is in our tongue. So when they signed the Declaration of Independence, they said to themselves, no matter what this means, because they knew what it meant. That meant that they were all probably going to die.
Yes,
and their families' fortunes were going to be ruined.
Yep.
Family members were probably going to be killed. They knew that. But they said, here's the bottom line. When I signed my name, and I love John Hancock's signature, become legendary because it was so big. Remember, do you know why he signed it so big? He said, I signed it so big to make sure that King George didn't even need his spectacles to see my name.
Exactly.
He said he had to pick up his spectacles. So when they signed it, they declared, I am already free. So when you see all this stuff that we cover on Monday nights, it can be overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
It's overwhelming
even
to
for
us. It is. We have to pray a lot of times after the show, just say, clear our minds, God. It's just too much. But we choose not to participate in what the world's agenda is. That's why we're here on every Monday night, Wednesday night, breaking news, all of this, going on television. Why? To tell a world. We're in this world, but we're not of this world.
That's it.
Our Declaration of Independence was signed in blood. Yeah. By the blood of Jesus.
That's good.
When he died on that cross and said, it is finished, that was the greatest Declaration of Independence.
Yes,
so no matter what country you're watching us from, no matter where you're at in the world, you realize I can see my face. I'm bogging down. The internet is trying to mess up right now while I'm giving
They don't like it.
They don't like it.
They don't like it.
You can call on Jesus and make July 4th your greatest declaration, because the Bible says, whom the Son has set free is free indeed. Is that awesome?
That is great.
So one quick thing, Sam, let me show you this real quick.
Great
word. We're gonna run right through this. 7 little known facts about the Declaration of Independence.
Yes.
Exclusive. Chuck Norris marks the 4th with inspiring stories of the founding era. This is written by Chuck Norris. Do you know how Chuck Norris can be as strong and mighty, and all these Chuck Norris jokes that are out there about him? It's because he believes in Jesus Christ and he loves his country. Written by absolutely one of the greatest tough men ever. He said, I was recently reflecting on the history surrounding the Declaration of Independence and thought my readers would also be very interested in learning some of the unknown aspects of the Declaration's creation, distribution, and legacy. Several historical websites hold fascinating facts about the national treasure, including the National Archives, History.com's article, 9 Things You May Not Know. He goes on first, he says, number 1, you may not know, Benjamin Franklin wrote the first Declaration of Independence. A lot of people don't know that. I did not know that. In April of 1775, the American Revolutionary War began at Lexington and Concord on July 5th, 1775. Look at the dates. Almost 1 year to the day when we signed the Declaration of Independence. 1 year prior, on July 5th, 1775, an entire year before the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, the Continental Congress adopted the Olive Branch Petition, written by John Dixon with the help of Thomas Jefferson. It appealed directly to King George III for reconciliation between the American colonies and Great Britain. In other words, it was trying to give him one more chance. Yeah. Franklin was so appalled by the British atrocities of their rule that he planned the first Articles of Confederation and drafted a Declaration of Independence to be issued by none other than George Washington. These are interesting facts. Number 2, Thomas Jefferson had problems with the adopted version of the Declaration of Independence, written largely by him. This is very interesting. On June 11, 1776, when the Continental Congress appointed a committee of 5 men, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Robert Livingston, Roger Sherman, and Thomas Jefferson, to write the Declaration of Independence. The committee, in turn, appointed Jefferson to produce a first draft from the consideration, which he did by utilizing other documents such as his own draft of the Virginia Constitution and other documents. The committee and later Congress made some revisions to Jefferson's draft, and in the end, Jefferson was troubled by their revision. Now, listen to this. Those that want to, you may not know this about America. Jefferson was troubled by their revisions, especially Franklin and Adams' removal of a diatribe blaming British King George III for the transatlantic slave trade. It was in the original Declaration of Independence to speak against King George for starting the slave trade. Who knows? Maybe if this paragraph were left in the original document, our founders might not be as maligned about today when it comes to being pro-slavery. So we see that even then, several people were trying to come against slavery, but they were overridden by some of our founding fathers. Very interesting. That's a huge black mark on the history of our country, of course. Number 3, the Declaration of Independence was it actually signed on July 4th, 1776? July 1st, the Second Continental Congress began meeting in Philadelphia. After adopting the Declaration on July 4th, they didn't sign it for roughly another month because New York's delegates were not authorized to vote in favor of independence until July 9th. And it also took 2 additional weeks for the Declaration to actually be produced in its final printed form.
My goodness.
A lot of people don't know this. Most delegates signed the official declaration on August 2nd, but at least 6 others didn't sign it until later, and 2 more never signed it at all, namely John Dixon and Robert Livingston. Number 4, I'll go quickly. The original Declaration of Independence wasn't even written on paper. It was written on parchment, which is very interesting. And then number 5, there are at least 26 surviving paper copies, original paper copies of the Declaration of Independence of the hundreds made in July 1776 for circulation among the colonies. So, I mean, all those years later, there is still 26 surviving copies that were made.
That is amazing.
That were handed out in 1776. So there you go. There's your interesting
Are there 2
history
more?
lesson at the end.
Were there 7?
Were there 7? Wait a minute.
Yeah,
You're right.
7.
Let's go back. Look at me. I'm getting excited thinking I was done. Number 6, when General George Washington read aloud the Declaration of Independence in New York, a riot resulted. George Washington created a riot in New York when he read it, and it was because it goes on to say that a copy of the Declaration of Independence had reached New York City, and at the time, tensions of the Revolutionary War were running very high, and Americans split between revolution and loyalists. And when George Washington read the words in the front of City Hall, a large crowd rallied and cheered. However, later that day, they knocked down a statue of King George III, melted it down, and converted the lead into more than 42,000 musket
That's
balls.
American ingenuity right there.
Oh, I'm sorry to our UK people. I'm sorry. This is nothing against you. We love you.
Yeah.
We love England.
We just have one thing to say. America.
America.
That is American ingenuity.
That is America. We're going to melt the statue of King George and turn it into musket balls.
Oh, yeah.
And then number 7, all 56 signers of this is important. I've read this before. All 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence paid a huge price for their rebellion and freedom. For a number of years, an email widely circulated with some history, some legends, some falsehoods, what happened to the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. But here's the real scoop. At least 12 signers had their homes and properties taken, ransacked, occupied, or burned. Vandals or soldiers looted the properties of William Ellery, George Clymer, Lyman Hall, George Walton, Button Gwinnett, Thomas Hayward, Edward Rutledge, and Arthur Militon. Robert Morris's home was overtaken as well. Phillips Livingston's lost several properties. John Hart's farm was looted. He had to flee into hiding. Francis Lewis had his home and property destroyed. The enemy jailed his wife, and she was held for months before being exchanged for wives of British soldiers. Carter Braxton of Virginia, a wealthy planter and trader, lost his ships and cargo to the British Navy. Thomas McNean wrote to John Adams in 1777 that he was hunted like a fox by the enemy, compelled to move my family 5 times in 3 months. 5 signers were captured by the British as prisoners of war and had to endure deplorable conditions. 1 signer lost his son in the war and another 2 sons captured. He goes on. I'm not going to read it all.
Well, I think we can sum it up by saying freedom isn't free.
Freedom isn't free.
These people paid a very high price so that we could benefit.
Yep.
You know, a lot of them probably never benefited from what they had to give up, from what their actions, what they did. But look at what we've been able to benefit and the lives that we've been able to have to this point. I know there's a lot of craziness, a lot of chaos, a lot of downright evil going on.
Yeah.
And
a lot of downright evil at the origin of our country.
Yes.
I mean, our country, it was horrible things were going on.
Yeah.
But let me just tell you something right now. If it wasn't for that founding, and if it wasn't for that document, we would not be sitting on YouTube right now.
Exactly. You know,
we would not be doing what we're doing right now. We would not be. We wouldn't be pastoring and preaching in a church right now.
No, we would not. We wouldn't have the freedom to do it.
You can say what you want to say about it, but that it's the greatest country in the world.
We wouldn't have the freedom to do it. And I'm so thankful that as a family that we were able to take a vacation one year to go to Washington, D.C. and Colonial Williamsburg and to go see Monticello, the estate of
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson, thank you.
Yes.
I blanked out for a second. And where else did we go? We went to a lot of the monuments
Went to George
in Washington,
Washington's
D.C.
home, Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon. I loved Mount Vernon.
It's amazing.
So many great things.
And I want to say one thing about our trip to Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home. Do you know that people call him a deist? In his own writings, I read this the other day. He talks about being a deist and why he became a deist. And he basically said, when I studied being a deist, I realized this was no benefit to me. Basically, this historian said he was a deist for about a week. And he was not a church attender regularly. He did, but when we went to Monticello, and we're going through Monticello, I went on the back porch of Monticello, and I asked the director that worked there, our tour guide, I said, how long have you been working here? This girl told us, we've been working here 15, 20 years. Was an expert in Thomas Jefferson. I said, I have heard all my life that Thomas Jefferson was not a believer. He's credited for this whole separation of church and state because of a letter that he wrote. Was he a deist? She laughed. She said, it's one of the greatest lies that's ever been told to the American people. She said, when you came up this hill to Monticello, you passed a little white church. That was his home church. He didn't attend that much. He did emphatically say that he believed in the red letters. He said, I don't really care too much for Paul. He said, I like to read what Jesus said. And if you remember, through his whole house, his house was probably 75% paintings from biblical acts in the Bible, Moses, Noah, Adam and Eve, all through Monticello. And she said he was a believer in Jesus Christ. So I'm talking about this was told to us at Monticello.
Yes.
This is the lie. When we went to the Jefferson Monument in Washington, D.C., the entire wall, some of you have been there before, all around him is scriptures and talking about God at the Jefferson Memorial. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying they were perfect. Many of them were Freemasons, all kinds of stuff. We could go down that road. It's another show. But the bottom line is this. God used these men and women to create a nation that has funded the gospel more than any nation in history, has sent more missionaries than any nation in history, and has freedoms like no other nation in history. So we say to the Americans and to the world, you can join us. Tomorrow we celebrate our Declaration of Independence, and we are proud to be Americans. Yeah. Amen?
Take a moment and give thanks to God while you're celebrating. Between the barbecue and the fireworks, right?
That's right. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Come on, Jesus.
Of the United States. Come on, say it with me. The United States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And it gives me the right to say, we ain't woke, but we are certainly awake. Have a great 4th.
Love you all.
Tomorrow, don't forget, 1 o'clock Central Time. The world is on fire.